Today we are going to start with the fourth session of inheritance chapter. Already we explained regarding what do you mean by inheritance, the types of inheritance, what are the advantages of inheritance, all those things already we explained in the previous sessions. Now once again I am to recall and then I am to continue with this session. Whereas inheritance is a process of acquiring the properties from base class to derived class, or we can say it's a process of creating a new class by using existing class. Creating a new class by using existing class. Then what do you mean by base class? Base class is nothing but existing class. Creating a new class by using existing class. Then what are the advantages of inheritance? The code can be reused. Obviously the time consumption will be reduced, easy to maintain, easy to extend, as well as memory can be utilized very less. These are the few advantages of inheritance. That is, whatever code we are written, the same code can be reused. Inheritance and heredity. Same properties from the parents, the properties are transferred to son. It means its properties are transferring from base to derived class. Here, once the properties are transferred, no need to write once again the same code. That's why the code can be reused. Whatever code for the further we are written, the same code can be reused. Obviously, the time consumption is reduced here. We are using the existing code. Once again, no need to write the same code. That's why the time consumption will be very less. Easy to extend, easy to maintain, as well as it helps to reduce the memory also. Memory consumption is also very less. With that, we explained types of inheritance. Under that, single level inheritance, multi-level inheritance, multiple inheritance, hybrid inheritance, hierarchical inheritance. These are the 5 types of inheritance: single level, multi-level, multiple, hybrid, as well as hierarchical. Then with that, we explained how exactly it can be defined. While defining, we used to write first the keyword class. First we are using the keyword class. Then next we are using derived class. Then next we are using derived class. Then next colon visibility mode. Visibility mode. Visibility mode. Then we used to write the base class. Then we used to write the base class. This is the pattern to define the class, especially inheritance. Class, derived class, colon, visibility mode, base class. For example, class son, colon, visibility mode, for example, I am to take public. Public, then here the base class I am going to take further. Etc. This is a method to define inheritance. Here the properties of father are passed to son. Then visibility mode. What do you mean by visibility mode? On this class we will explain what do you mean by visibility mode, how to define that, how to access the data from base class to derived class. That today I am going to explain you. Whereas visibility mode will control the access specifiers of the members of the base class in the derived class. Hagandre artha, base class alliro data, so properties na access ಮಾಡಬಹುದಾ ಮಾಡಬಾರದಾ derived class ಅನ್ನೋದ್ರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಹೇಳುತ್ತೆ. Visibility mode will control the access specifiers of the members of the base class in the derived class. ಇಲ್ಲಿರೋ members ಅನ್ನ base class ಅಲ್ಲಿರೋ members ಅನ್ನ datas ಅನ್ನ functions ಅನ್ನ access ಮಾಡಬಹುದಾ ಮಾಡಬಾರದಾ ಅನ್ನೋದ್ರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ visibility mode ಹೇಳುತ್ತೆ. Because it's very important question. In the exam, already I told you the weightage of this chapter is only 5 marks. The questions may be, what do you mean by inheritance? Explain with an example program ಅಂತ ಕೇಳ್ಬೋದು. On that case, definition carries 1 marks and program carries 4 marks. Otherwise, they may go to ask, explain different types of inheritance. That is also 5 marks question. There also to explain single level, multi-level, multiple, hybrid, as well as hierarchical. Otherwise, they may going to ask the question, explain visibility mode. Explain visibility mode in inheritance. This is also very important question for 5 marks. Then first you have to write the definition, how to access the data, how exactly it will control. Regarding that you have to explain. Whereas visibility mode will control the access specifiers of the members of the base class in the derived class. If you write this chart, then it will be easy for you to remember how exactly it will work. For example, first we will take the base class. First we will take base class. Then next we will take derived class. Derived class. In the base class also we have private, public as well as protected. In base class also we have private, public as well as protected. There are three access here. Here also in the same way. Private, public as well as protected. Now, how to identify, how to remember this table? There is a technique to remember this table. See, if the base class is private, while write down like this pattern, while explaining it, explain in column wise format. Then it will be easy for you to remember also. If the base class is private, in derived class it may be private, public or protected. Any case, write down not inherited. Not inherited. Not inherited. Not inherited. Then, if the base class is public, on that case, whatever may be the derived class heading, write in the same headings. In derived class, we have here private, public as well as protected. Write down as it is. Private. Here we have public. And here we have protected. Now is it clear? Whereas when they come on protected case, only in private case it is private and remaining will be, it is protected. Only in private case it is private and the remaining case it will be protected. In remaining case it will be protected. Now is it clear? Visibility mode will control the access specifiers of the base class in the derived class. Now while writing explanation, first private inheritance. How to write the private inheritance? In private inheritance, take down the same concept, syntax as well as example. See, class, derived class, colon, visibility mode, then base class. In private inheritance, if the base class is private and in the derived class, it cannot be inherited. While writing the example, this is the syntax and this is the example. See, class, derived class, on the place of visibility mode, write on private. On the place of visibility mode, write on private, then further. It means that if the base class is private, the members of the base class, if it is private, in the derived class also, it is not inherited. Now is it clear? And the private, while explaining, you have to explain in column wise. Then it will be easy for you. Public members of the base class become private in the derived class. While writing syntax, class, derived class, visibility mode, then base class. While writing example, class, derived class is son, here the visibility mode is private and the base class is further. The members of the base class, if it is public, then in the derived class it becomes private. If the base class members are protected, then it becomes private in the derived class. Three concepts to remember. If the base class members are private, while explaining in column wise to explain. If the base class members is private, then in the derived class it is not inherited. If the base class members are public, then in the derived class it becomes private. If the base class, if it is protected, then it became private in the derived class. Now is it clear? Now while explaining public inheritance, on that, while syntax will be the same, class, derived class, colon, visibility mode, then base class. While explaining example, class, son, here on this place you have to write it as public. Public, then further. This is the syntax and this is the example. While there also to explain three things. One is, if the base class become private, then in public inheritance, the derived class cannot be inherited. If the base class members are private, then in the derived class, it is not inherited. It cannot able to access. If the base class is public, then in the derived class also, it become public only in public visibility mode there. Then, if the base class is protected, then in the derived class also, it become protected. Now is it clear? First point, in private inheritance, if the base class is private, then in derived class also, it is not able to inherit. If it is public in the base class, then it become private in the derived class. In the base class, if it is protected, then in the derived class also, it become private. In public visibility mode, that if the base class is private, then it cannot be inherited in the derived class. If the base class members are public, then in the derived class also it become public only. If the base class become protected, then in the derived class also it become protected. This is regarding public. Next, the last one is protected. In protected also, syntax will be the same: class, derived class, visibility mode, then base class. While writing a visibility mode, here you have to write protected. Here you have to write protected. See? While explaining this, write down, explain column wise. If the base class members become private, then in the derived class, it cannot be inherited. If the base class members are private, then it cannot be inherited in the derived class. If the base class members are public, then in the derived class, it become protected. In the derived class, it become protected. Next, if the base class, if it is protected, the members are, if it is protected, in the derived class also become protected. This thing you have to write. Once again, to recall all the things. Visibility mode will control the access specifiers of the members of the base class in a derived class. Hagandre artha, base class aliro members na access ಮಾಡಬಹುದಾ derived class. So access ಮಾಡುವಾಗ ಯಾವ ತರ ಕನ್ವರ್ಟ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, as it is access ಮಾಡಬಹುದಾ, ಮಾಡೋದಕ್ಕಾಗಲ್ವಾ, ಅಲ್ಲಿರೋ ಪ್ರೈವೇಟ್ ಡೇಟಾಸ್ derived class ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಬಂದಾಗ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಅನ್ನೋದ್ರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪ್ಲೈನ್ ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ. Visibility mode will controls the access specifiers of the members of the base class in the derived class. There are three visibility modes: private, public and protected. While writing this table, write down in horizontal format. While explaining, write down in column wise format, that is in vertical format. While writing, first write down base class, then derived class. In base class also private, public, protected. In derived class also private, public, protected. In private case, it cannot be inherited in all the cases. In public, whatever heading you have in derived class, write in the same thing. Here we have private, here also write down private. Here we have public, here also write down public. Here it is protected, write down here also it is protected. But when you come on protected case, only when you have the heading, especially in derived class private, there write down private. And the remaining thing will be protected. Okay. Then, while explaining class, derived class, colon, visibility mode, then base class. The syntax, example, class, then derived class name you have to write, then what is the visibility mode, private, public, protected, that you have to mention, then you have to mention the base class. While explaining, in each case, you have to explain 3 points. Especially in private inheritance, if the base class members are private, then it cannot be inherited in the derived class. First point. Second point, if the base class members are public, then in the derived class it become private. That is the second point. Third point, if the base class members are protected, then in the derived class it become private. Third point for private inheritance. The next one, in public case, on that also, if the base class members are private, then it cannot be inherited in the derived class. If the base class members are public, it become public only in the derived class. If it is protected in the base class, then in the derived class also it is protected. This is regarding public inheritance. Next one, protected case, especially in protected visibility mode, there if the base class members are private, then it cannot be inherited in the derived class. It means that if the base class is private, that cannot be inherited in the derived class. Base alli ನಾವು base class alli private ಅಂತ ಕೊಟ್ರೆ, then it may be visibility mode private or public or protected. Any case, on that case the data cannot be inherited. It cannot be accessed. If it is public, if the base class members are public, then in the derived class it become protected. If the base class members are protected, in the derived class also it is protected. It means that visibility mode will controls the access specifiers of the members of the base class in the derived class. From this you come to know how we can able to access. That's why visibility mode ನಾವು ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಏನಾದ್ರೂ ಪ್ರೈವೇಟ್ ಅಂತ ಕೊಟ್ಟಾಗ ನಾವು ಡೇಟಾನ ಬೇಸ್ ಕ್ಲಾಸ್ ಇಂದ derived class ಗೆ access ಮಾಡೋದಕ್ಕಾಗಲ್ಲ. That's why in the program we use right the visibility mode is public. On that case we can able to access. Then on that case public anta kottaga enagutte, if the base class is public, then in derived class also it is public only. Then easily we can able to access the data. That's why the visibility mode will controls the access specifiers of the members of the base class in the derived class. This is the regarding the visibility mode. It's very important question. For 5 marks in the annual exam they will ask. One question you may going to get, what do you mean by inheritance? Explain the advantage anta kelbodu. Athwa what is inheritance? What is inheritance? Explain an example program anta kuda kelbodu. Otherwise explain the types of inheritance anta 5 marks kelbodu. Otherwise the visibility mode in inheritance anta kelbodu. Visibility mode heluvaga if you read this table, then easy for you to remember the concept as well as explain. Now is it clear? This is the thing regarding the visibility mode. This we're going to write one example for this. Here we have father is the son is the derived class and father is the base class. How to write? First class, the class here father. Here we have data members in private section as well as in public sections we have member functions. Data members as well as member functions. Then close this class. Here father is a base class, that here we are closed it. While creating son class, here son is the derived class. Then here the visibility mode we have to take public, then we can easily access public. The base class is father. The base class is father. Here also in private declare the data members, then in public declare the member functions. Then close this class. Here we have one class that is father, and here also we have one class son. This son acts as the members of the father in a derived class, and this derived class can also have the additional data members as well as functions. Andre son alli father du kuda properties irutte, adar jotege additional properties kuda irutte. This is the general format to represent the visibility mode. The remaining thing next class we will explain. Thank you for all of you.